Okay, so I think we are already live. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone who is watching us. My dear fearless female founders, super excited to see you at our today's session about how to negotiate the deals in your personal life and in your business as well with Ekaterina Seehaus. Super happy to have you here with us today, Ekaterina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ekaterina is now independent. Can I say that you have your own business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ekaterina is having her own business in the sector of Ikebana. Is it how I say it in English, right?
Right. Yeah. I think floral art or something like that is probably more understandable. So it's Japanese floral art.
Japanese floral art. But before that, Ekaterina worked in the corporate world, and maybe I can give you a word so you would be able to,
Yeah.
describe exactly what you were doing.
Right. So by education, I'm a mechanical engineer and I got an MBA in operations management. So I am absolutely not an artist by the general measure. But later in life, I have received the teaching degree in Ikebana, in this Japanese floral art, from a Japanese school. I started teaching, and then that gradually got me into the creative world, and that's what I'm doing right now. But negotiation was basically my largest portion of professional life. So I was a buyer in a multinational company. I was buying different things because typically, in American companies, they move you from buying certain thing 3 years, and then next 3 years you're buying something else. So I had quite a lot of experience in that respect, and the most interesting, impactful jobs, of course, are the ones where you get to spend the most money, right? So the best value the buyer can add is keeping this balance between the quality of what you get and when you get it and the price, right? So this value buying is the religion which was my life for many years, and I found it quite exciting and interesting. It changed me as a person a lot, and I think whatever I do now, I would have been doing in such a different way. Shouldn't have had that experience. So
Yeah, it's yeah, and this is the reason why we decided to have you in Fearless Female Founders. And another reason actually is that I experienced myself how negotiation can really help you to save so much money, but literally so much money. Um, so I'll just bring you an example. The reason why I'm so excited about this topic is because I was buying a car as an independent, which is an absolutely new experience for me. And being expat in Belgium and not knowing the local system, it's quite an adventure as well. So the usual way how we buy, right? Like we contact a garage, let's say, or the company or the service who is providing the service, and we are requesting the quote. They give us a quote, and we usually compare one quote to another, and we decide to go for a cheaper one. But what we don't do, and I was lucky to have someone who was helping me with buying the car, and I'm going to have the interview with that person as well in July, I believe, who helped me to negotiate the price of a car by 7,000 euro. 7,000 euro, it's a lot of money, and the same happened with the insurance as well. But I will cover that part maybe at the end of the interview, not to steal the show from Ekaterina. So I will give you the words and maybe ask questions along the way. But the question is, yeah, how we as business owners, or just just women, negotiate better prices, because we are usually so shy to go out there and hit that wall, because my boyfriend was pushing me a lot to negotiate. I was like, oh my god, this is so scary, like I'm kind
but
of
what were you scared of? Just tell me. I mean, this is the key to the whole animal. What were you scared of?
I think I was scared that like I'm taking away money from someone.
Oh my, okay. Okay. What else was that all?
um, there was the in general feeling of being of feeling uncomfortable, as if I'm not able to pay the full price. It's
Oh,
like it's like I'm being cheap. Yeah.
right. Okay. Um, was there anything like what did you have this thought crossing your mind? Like, what would be the worst thing which can happen?
Yeah, well, I assume they would just say no.
Was that something you were afraid of?
Um, yeah, it's not about maybe no, about no as it is. It's more about what will they think about me? They will think that I'm cheap. They will think that, this girl, what does she think about herself, pushing the limits.
Okay.
And
Okay. Well, and you see a lot of it. So far, you didn't say anything about the product, right? You didn't think that somehow product was not good enough or too good, or it was not related to the product you were buying at all. It was
no.
about you and other people and what people would think about you. So you see, like none of the negotiation was actually focused on what you were buying. And I think this, once you realize that, like you stop before making any deal, signing any contract, and analyze why you didn't go into it, I think you will discover again that that was all about the soft things, right? So it was never actually about the actual money. And sometimes it's probably good to be under pressure, then you are more willing to forego the luxury of thinking whether they think nice of me. But you have system which forces you, like you don't have this 7,000, you just go and find it.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes that's the best way to learn.
Hmm.
And in the work environment, I think this is very well staged by budgets, like budget cuts, and everybody goes and finds the money, right? So you are really like placed into this scarcity situation where you have to find a way to run the business on 10% less than last year, or 20%, or half the budget, right? And then people get super creative and they really go and even review the product. They're willing to buy half of that, right? So what was last year? And then the negotiation is actually happening about the real things, real items on the list, not about the stuff which is actually not related to what you are buying at the end. Um, so yeah, I don't know if you can see the comments of the folks who are watching now.
We can see the
You
comments,
can
but there
see.
are no
So
comments now.
I
I
just,
can I
yeah.
can see some ladies watching, so it's yeah,
Okay,
it's
good.
good
Because I
news.
would really like to understand the audience who is watching us, whether they are independent, they have their own business, or they are in employment situation. Because I think the professional aspect of that would vary a bit, depending on that. So if they can put like one into the chat if they are self-employed or have small business or big business, and two if they are in employment, and if it's both, then one and two together. So if you can give me the idea after a while, I normally comments come in with a bit of a delay, but that would be helpful for me what to focus on and which direction to take it. But even before we go into that situation, I think it's super cool to think of the whole life as negotiation. And to me, that's really like we are sometimes not taking chance to negotiate in the business because we think it's something new. We don't do that normally, but why would we start doing it? Well, in reality, we just do not realize we do it with our husbands, with our children, with school bus, with anybody, because we really need it. We really want something. We really have to get out of some situation. And then we get creative and then we find our solution. So if we're a little bit like open the box of this needing something to money as well and say like, look, if I don't have enough money, it doesn't mean that I have to go and make more. No, I just get the price down and I get the same thing, right? So a little bit applying the same skills which we already have, and I think this is the quickest way towards starting. It's realizing that that's something which you already used before and you can start reusing it and maybe enhance it. Yeah, just a little bit adopt it. So that's something which I want to get you to towards the end of our conversation, so
Yeah.
that just start with this mindset and just think like as we go through it, how you relate it to other situations than business and money. That
Katerina,
actually.
I will interrupt you really quickly because we've got some answers.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you can see it. You should be able to see them. So we have two ladies answering with two.
Uh-huh.
Who was independent, right?
No, two was in the employment.
In employment, yeah. There is another comment. Hi, ladies. What an interesting topic. Thank you. Super happy to be helpful here. And another one. Hi, thanks for interesting topic to bring. I'm starting independence, selling culture to individuals and enterprises. Voila. So it's kind of half-half.
All right. Okay. So let's. That's helpful. That indeed adds a bit of concrete feeling to it, because the most simple situation is a negotiation for the salary. Because most of us either have been employed at some point in time or are now employed, as it seems, and that's the opportunity where I think everybody has to negotiate, and regardless of the situation you are in, it's unlikely that you would be just completely rejected from the employer if you have negotiated about your salary. But regrets you might have afterwards are guaranteed if you have not negotiated. And very often, I think it comes from the lack of confidence and kind of wanted to be above it, right? So that I have this vivid conversation in my mind I had with my friend, and she was home with kids for a few years, and then she was happy to find a job which was a bit below her qualification, but still was opening a good big door for her in a large company. So she was like, I'm taking this job. I said, okay, need to negotiate for the salary. I was already in that world. I knew that she has to. And she was like, well, you probably do this whole negotiation thing. I'm not doing it. I am kind of above it. They will see I'm good. They will pay me what I'm worth. Well,
Oh,
a couple of years, yeah, a couple of years later, she became like a department manager where she was hired. So like 6 people, and she became their leader, and she got access to their salaries, and she realized as a boss with even promotion and pay raise, she's still making less money than they are. So
yeah.
oh, she was devastated. And to me it was like, yes, this is obvious. You obviously were in a very weak situation. You did not dare to negotiate for yourself. And it was such a difficult emotional situation for her, because it took still some time. They don't give, like one pay raise after the next. You still need to work for a while until you can get at least the same level as your employees. But that was really difficult for her. So never really, to me, again, you do what you want, but to me, never really taking the salary as a given, especially if you know the market, if you know what you are worth, and you
Yeah.
have your personal feeling, this is what my hour is worth. Or if you take decision not to negotiate, then you never should have regret about it. Like, yeah, I was at home with kids, I was happy to do anything, and I'm happy that I'm low paid, but at least I'm working, like if that's your position. But don't get upset afterwards. You're taking a conscious choice when you're not negotiating.
Okay.
So it is a choice.
Are we
So
jumping into how to negotiate
yeah,
your salary?
and then I think the important point is you have to put yourself in the context correctly. So the key word in negotiation for me is positioning. So how to position your point of view the way that it's not offensive to the other party, that makes sense, and that actually makes it a good deal for the other party. Right? So are there any comments?
Yeah, yeah, there is a comment. What did this lady do? Did she quit?
Oh no, she got promoted about 5 times more now. She's big boss, so I guess she made it all back to the good money. But it's been a frustrating period of time when she realized that she could have been in a better position starting. So her starting point was just way too low.
Okay, but she got those 5 promotions because she negotiated, or she just went.
Well, I think that taught her a lesson. Of course, I'm not in detail involved in her further life in that respect, but it did teach her the lesson of valuing herself and actually being fair to herself, and not letting fear just overrule your common sense. And it is a decision. Just be conscious of your decision of not negotiating.
Okay.
So positioning, I do think it depends a lot on the context of what you want to negotiate. And if anybody has in mind a specific negotiation coming up, like if you are, I don't know, buying a house, or if you want to change jobs, or you have a big order with your supplier or with your customer, just yeah, maybe you can put it in the comments and I will get back to that, and we can probably talk a bit more to that particular situation. But in general, you have negotiations which are like one time, like buying a house, and long-term things where you will be with your employer for hopefully many years, so you cannot jeopardize your relationship. So the context there becomes much more important. So there will be even situations where in certain cultures and certain environments where not negotiating is actually going to put you in a weaker position. And many people are not aware of that. So it is expected that you negotiate in most of the cases. So most of the employers are expecting you to negotiate. And if you didn't, they think of you like, oh, desperate, right? So especially if you are buying in a different culture, that's been my experience with buying a silk rug in India. We negotiate price down by 50%, and then I realized that probably was not the bottom of it. But they just, their price making is having different mentality, and it was not a planned purchase, so I did not prepare. And to me, that's the lesson. Another lesson, like how could we just make an emotional purchase? Well, we were not into it. We didn't know the market. We had no clue how much the things cost. It was just fun. But in any case, if you are approaching this situation, so positioning in the sense of understanding the other party really, really well. I had example with work, so it's not a money-related negotiation, but I think it's very important. I was in a department where exiting it was impossible. So I had a friend who wanted to leave to another department, and she was refused to do so. So she had to escalate to HR VP in order to be able to be moved for a career opportunity. And I, similarly to her, I got to a certain level and I wanted to go elsewhere, and there I was. So I talked to my mentor at that time, who helped me kind of put myself in the shoes of the boss, and we prepared how I'm going to talk to my boss. And the talk went from me talking about my performance in general, and I knew it's good. So the boss actually tells me how good I am. So I am building already his position. Then I ask him what he thinks of my development. Of course, he tells me that, yeah, I definitely need to develop. I have such a great potential, da 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 da. And then we start discussing what are the development opportunities. And then he knows and I know there is nothing in this department which is development opportunity for me. So it almost like he offers me to start looking for elsewhere, and he will help me out with that as well. And when I tell about this to the girl who just left, she was in shock. She was like, no, but why did it go so easy for you and I had to struggle so much?
So basically, just to summarize it a little bit, because I can see like the structure of the whole story that you're telling in here. Basically, you need to turn your boss into your coach, let's say. So you are telling him, how can you help me grow? And then your coach, I mean, your boss is feeling that he needs or she needs to contribute into your growth and development. And yeah, this is how it works.
So
Way better.
basically, you just build their journey. Like,
Yeah.
like when you are sales, you are building a customer journey. This is what will happen. And you envision at each step of the way, okay, they can go this way or that way. If they make decision one, what is going to happen? So similarly, so negotiation to me is a huge, huge preparation. So the girl who did not succeed or had struggled getting out of this department to another opportunity, basically I told her what my mentor told me: don't just open boss's door, say I found another job, and close the door and run away because you are in fear. And she said, she was laughing first very long, and she said, it's exactly what I did. Because this is like, you are in fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she already had a job offer from another department, which was very nice, and she was fearing she's not going to get it. So she would not come in and have this conversation because it's just too scary. It's much easier to just do it, the easy way, close the door and run away. And then this whole havoc breaks loose, and like, what, for 2 months I think they were struggling with it. So this is really like the preparation part, but it's not always just about the market research, for example, because what people think is that, oh, if it's about the car, I need to research how much this car is in the market, like, no, logical research. What are the other offers? I get my 3 offers, and please, by the way, please get at least 3 offers whenever you are buying something. This, nobody cancels that. With no practice strategies and tactics, you can avoid that. You have to have at least 3 offers comparable on apples for apples basis, which is like another huge area of buying.
Yeah. And now,
So
yeah, we are shifting now a little bit away from the corporate world. And yeah, I hope you understood what's to do girls who are in the corporate. I think the structure is very clear. Turn your boss into your coach, and kind of also help her or him to develop you. So like whatever lesson they give you, yeah, do it. Just do it, so they would see that you're eager to progress and do something, and they will be eager to help you on your corporate ladder journey. And now, like when you started talking about quotes, very interesting thing. So maybe I can jump a little bit with my car story. I first got a quote for a car, and I tried to negotiate myself. What can you offer me a better price? And they just said, no, this is like the best price, right? Yeah, this is what they say. Okay, here's the secret. The secret is coming. You need to, as Ekaterina has said, you need to get other quotes. And then when you have other quotes, you go with the cheapest one, the cheapest quote, to another, let's say, garage or another service provider or product provider, and you tell them, look, I have this quote. Can you offer a better price? And so, jumping back and forth like this, yeah, we managed to reduce the price by 7,000 euro for the car. It was like, wow, this thing, the whole,
yeah.
the whole world opened up in front of me.
And I think I would not draw the line between the corporate or private, because what you need to remember is you are always talking to people. So in corporate or not, it's a person in front of you.
Mhm.
And the same journey you can make for a car salesman. I don't know how exactly it runs in Belgium, but typically salesmen in a dealership, they would have some sort of competition. At the end of the month, somebody gets some extra bonus if he meets the quota or something like that. So if you do have somewhere a glimpse of their back room, and there is some who is on the first line, who is on the second line, you probably want to talk to the guy who is almost at the quota, who almost made it. He's the one who's going to be willing to give you the biggest discount, because he needs just one more sale to make it the quota. So
Okay.
it's always the person. It's his personal benefit that you need to understand. And I mean, just to put it in perspective a bit, negotiation training is like 5 full days, just like theory and exercises, right? So we are going to just touch on a couple of things, and each of them you can drill deep into and learn a lot about, to be on the fingertips, so you can use it easily. But this type of thinking, just at least shift your thinking and educate yourself and get more knowledge on each of the aspects of that. I think that that's critical. But preparation is like number one. And in preparation, you would cover things like motivators of yourself and of the other party. And I think for women especially, motivators that you need to understand more. Men are probably more clear, and as they are kind of more simply made. Sorry, I'm not being sexist in general, but here I think female mind tends to jump more from subject to subject, and self-confidence is something which is also playing a big role there. So
Okay.
isolating those things which are related to your emotional part, and not wanting to speak about something that's also upfront, and being very clear on what you want to get. I was helping a friend with a negotiation. She wanted to have reduced work schedule with her employer. And it took us more than an hour to get to what is it that she actually wants. The question just to ask, okay, I want to have but why do you want it? For how long? What are your, like what is driving you? She found it extremely uncomfortable. We almost quit this conversation in the middle because it is hard. It is, like this is part of the, like half of the job, to understand what you want, what limits you. Because one very important thing you need to have before every negotiation you go into, what is your alternative to no agreement? The so-called BOTNA, right? Best alternative to no outcome, agreed outcome. So you need to know where you're gonna go. What is your second offer? What is the price you are prepared to pay? So you do have good negotiation strategy guides, and I guess you can Google some where I say the lowest, the highest, the middle, the most likely offer on each subject, right? So price is only one subject. Price, timing. You can be talking about options. I'm sure you had a lot of that negotiation in your car, right? So on the options you can negotiate. The way the offer is made. For example, you can have a lump sum offer where everything is included. Then you might think of breaking it down into the items. If you get the itemized offer, you might think of summing it up and saying, I'm going to give you the package offer of for everything. But if I take everything, it's 10% less. So you need to really kind of figure out all the components of that. What is it that you can offer that is of no difference for you? For example, time. If you have, let's say you have cash, you can pay with cash. For you, it doesn't matter. You can take credit. I mean, it's no problem. But for the buyer or for the other party, that is crucial when they're gonna get paid. So all those aspects you need to actually list on paper for yourself, rate importance for yourself, rate importance for the other party, assume or imply what is reasonable point, what could be the extremes, the maximum, the minimum, what they would be willing to accept, you think. An assumption is a dangerous thing. It is very dangerous, especially if you assume something against you, like, oh, they will never go that low. That's a dangerous area, but you need to at least try to put all those components together. It's a lot of work. I do like expression that negotiation is not an event; it's a process. So it's not what is happening. This conversation you are having with that person is like 5%. The actual work is preparation and the follow-up. And if you are coming in confident in what you are proposing is fair and reasonable, that's already giving you like so much advantage that nobody can bullshit you actually and tell you like, oh God, no, this is ridiculous. No, it's not ridiculous. I have my 3 other offers. And, because sometimes they will be nice to you and say, oh no, this is the best we can do. Sometimes they will be nasty. They will be making you feel like you're small, you're cheap. But if you're confident, you can just push back on that. Like, okay, guys, nice try. Because good salespeople, they are trained as well. This you need to understand, because when you face a good sales team on the other side, if you are buying and vice versa, there is a lot of respect for the skill. You see the game they play, you see, oh, now they're pulling out this one, oh, now, oh, good. And after a while you stop playing it because you feel like you're playing on the same playing field, and you start actually having the conversation which will get you to the deal. So try to be as close as their field as possible, so
Yeah,
they respect you.
what I felt actually, negotiating kind of myself, that it's an attitude as well, because I absolutely didn't want to negotiate, and it's actually my boyfriend who was really pushing me. It's like, why don't you go to this another garage and show them this quote and ask them what they can offer? And I felt this resistance. It's like, okay, it's like feeling cheap and not really confident. But once I did it, and that I saw how well it works, I started to gain, confidence, and kind of feeling it's a ping pong game, that we are playing. And I know that we were pushing the borders, the limits a little bit more. But then, because my boyfriend is also in business, he has his own company, he sells things, and he told me, "Don't worry." Because my worry was, as I told you, like I'm taking away money from someone.
How old are you? Yeah.
I think these are all the family traumas.
Yeah,
My
we all
mom
come with a
always
baggage.
wanted to give everything for free to everyone. So I suppose, yeah, there are some limitations in there. So he told me that don't worry, they will not take away money from themselves. As far as they're making money, yeah, they will sell it to you. And if it is too far, they will stop you there. And this what happened actually. When they started to offer car mats and security kits, then that's when I knew, okay, this is this is it. Cannot go any further. Yeah, Ola. And
But well, go ahead.
yeah, the short story about insurance as well, because often we don't know what exists outside of the area that we see. So I don't know much about insurances. So what I did, I just used Google and looked at the companies which are offering the insurances, which started from 2000, I think, €200 per year, which was like absolutely crazy. And I was, just jumping from one insurance to another, checking how much it would cost me, and it was still quite high. And then the area that I didn't know about, like a horse with strays, that there are, how do you call them?
Macklers.
Um, how to say?
The macklers, the agents who consolidate it, and then they can do the job for you of selecting the.
Exactly. And so when the person who was helping me with buying a car told me about those macklers, I was like scared straight away. I was like, they will want a part of money as well, for this insurance. So in the end,
Sure pays them.
so maybe it's gonna cost even more for me. But I decided to. I think I got frozen, so I decided to give it a go.
Hear you.
Yeah, I decided to give it a go. And I talked to them, and they told me, look, we are getting about 25, 35 euro per each insurance. And they find you the best deal. They are the ones negotiating for you. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can find agencies, macklers like this. It's like 25, 35 euro, and all the hassle of, calling those insurances, filling out all the forms, they're just taken away from you. They're happy and you're happy as well. And this is how, yeah, I found in the end the insurance, which was 40 or 45% less than the initial offers that I saw.
Yeah, I have exactly the same experience as you do. So when I was insuring liability for the business, and that's the route I have followed as well. Although I first went through KBC, which is kind of a bank for entrepreneurs. Traditionally in Belgium, it's like agricultural bank initially. So I thought, okay, they must have good way of handling guys like me. And then I realized what they had to offer. Probably it was good, but not comparable to what the guy who is consolidating everything and has a good overview of everything had. And then when I went back to him with additional things, because I started doing that and I started doing Christmas decoration, which involves electricity, right? So like when it's just a wedding, that's fine. That's flowers. It's like relatively not dangerous. But once you start plugging in electricity, probably insurance needs to change. So I go to the guy, ask him, and he's the service provider then who can consult me and give me extra value, because he can then tell me, okay, that's best to do with a separate insurance, or with the same insurance with just amend it. So that's also kind of knowing the market. Again, goes back to the knowledge. And if we're talking about private business, I think it's very important to have the network, and like your group, Anna, is really great in that respect. You can always talk to each other and share the knowledge, especially if folks are not Belgian. That's great to just learn from each other. And we have also a smaller spin-off in Russian. We had also very useful contacts like this. So we all go through similar experiences and we find out from each other, and we can recommend suppliers of different things. So that's really knowledge you can acquire in different ways. Google is great, but people are so much quicker. It's a shortcut in all.
I absolutely agree here. Can't agree more, really, because I've noticed as well that we women, we have a lot of like solo businesses, so we heavily rely on ourselves, and we are trying to save money and not considering the specialists, the experts like this, who it feels like, okay, that you're going to spend money on them now, but actually they can save you really a lot of money. And that what happened with me and the guy who was helping me with buying a car. Because first of all, I needed to understand as well, financially speaking, does it make sense for my business or not? So he explained me that. And then because he's experienced buyer with the dealers and the garages, he was able to negotiate much easily. And imagine, so the services of this guy is 150 to 200 euro, and which saves me 7,000 euro. So
And that's what they say about the accountants. Good accountant should not be a cost. He should save you enough money to be for free. So he should be like, at the end of the day, what he saves you should pay for his services, if it's a
exactly.
good one. Yeah. So, and I think that's so true. You need to outsource whatever is not your area of expertise. And like with buying services, general corporate approach was always that if you take over from the business, right? A lot of businesses are still buying, like, engineers buying his equipment, and somebody, so directly going to the suppliers, getting quotes like on the non-professional level of buying. Typically, when such an area is taken off by professional purchasing organization, they always say 10% saving. So it's like not knowing what the area is, who was doing it. By definition, a professional organization commits to 10%, will save you 10%, like without knowing what's there. We don't know that industry either, but we know how to study the industry. We know how to come and understand what things to look for, what are the markers. So yeah, it is important skill. And in the private small business, I think there is a saying, profit is made in the purchasing department. Could be true, could be not, but it depends a lot how you sell as well. But if you do not manage to buy your material, your people in a proper way, whatever you sell will just go down to zero if you are not cost controlling properly and you're not able to source it competitively, because your competition is also going to the same market and buying the same, I don't know, like for me, they're buying the same flowers. So how do I get the flowers at the best price so that when I'm in front of the customer, my price is more attractive because I bought it in a better way? And we talked at a separate occasion that it took me 1.5 years to get to the beginning of the supply chain to buy at the first possible exchange, right? So when flowers are sold first time, I'm there, and not when it was already 3 times sold to the wholesaler and to the next and to the next, and then only I'm coming to buy it. So avoid the markups, be far enough in the supply chain. And if you need to get somebody to build the supply chain for you, probably that's even a small business needs to make this investment. If you are not into it, get somebody professional to actually do it, to reduce your cost components. If you're not like purely 100% service, you do your websites yourself, okay, very limited what you can do there. But if there is at least some cost component external involved, it's worth to set it up properly.
Mm-hmm.
Voilà.
Okay, so we've got quite some good tips and tricks in here. Ladies, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments so we could follow them up. Oh, my battery is running low. So maybe if you can give some final tips uh,
Um,
on how to negotiate, I will go
yeah,
and
you
plug
go
in.
plug in, and probably somebody was leaving comments there whether they are buying something soon. We can address that once Anna is plugging in her phone. So the assumption is mother of every screw up, should I say. It's a good saying, and I think that's something to remember always, always, always. The classic example is the person who is coming to a private on a private advertisement of car sale and to buy an expensive car, and when he tries to negotiate, he kind of says, "I'm not gonna buy it more than 20,000." And that's kind of one of the gravest mistakes. You expect that, okay, it's a 40,000 euro car, for example, and you are making a very low offer of 20, and you think that this is going to go well, and you are happy about the deal. However, the in this situation, it's like it's a classic joke in the negotiation training probably, that the person who was selling it was a ex-wife, and she was selling her cheating husband's car, and she wanted to get rid of it like for the least money possible, just to hurt him, right? So, but she had right to sell it, obviously. So, and the story goes nice and colorful, but just to cut the time. So basically, you should never assume it. If she was given like, I don't know, 1,000, she would have been happy to sell it just to, to make a point. So be sensitive in negotiation and don't assume what's important for the other party. Sometimes somebody will be able to sell to you at a very low cost just because they want to keep their employees busy,
It's
and
actually
profit is not so important for them. And even if they cover just part of their employee costs, that is going to be a good deal for them already. So never assume. Try the
uh,
bottom. Always ask, is that all? Is that all? Can you
that's
do
actually
more?
very interesting. That's
Until
actually
they offer floor rugs.
that's a very interesting example that you brought. I remember many years ago, I was taking the course of Donald Trump. If it's or not, he wasn't anywhere near politics back then, and I took a half-year course on real estate. And basically, he was saying that if you see a very low price on the property, most of the people, what will they do? They will think, oh, something is wrong in here. It's kind of too good to be true, and they will just pass by. And he was saying, if it looks like too good to be true, you have to get it. And this is what I have noticed in many areas. As you said, there could be an example where a wife wants to sell the car of the ex because, she just want him feel bad about it, or there are people divorcing and they want to sell the house very fast and they sell it at a very low price. And many times we disregard those offers because we think something is wrong about them. But
And
this
it is probably wrong. It's not wrong to think that it's wrong, but then it means you need to do more homework. That's
you
how we
just,
bought our house. We also bought it in a very strange situation. Yes, it was a lot of problems afterwards, but that was okay. That was still keeping the balance. Yes, it was a deal nobody wanted to take for a number of reasons, because basically the personality of the seller. But okay, at the end of the day, you just wait and you take a decision.
you need to you need to do your homework. So you need to understand why it is selling for so cheap, let's say. But usually, as you said, after you process everything, the balance is still.
And there are risks. There are always risks. Even the deal which is expensive and looks good probably has a risk, maybe even bigger. So you can never protect 100% from the risk. So you get experts, you get somebody who is specialized in that field, can do the proper expertise, can do the proper legal check. So those are the things which you just need to be more careful with if it's strangely low price, right? But still, it's not, to me, it's not, if it's too good to be true, it's not true. No, I would always argue with that.
Mhm. Okay, so we are coming to the end of the session. Well, if you don't have any questions, we are going to wrap it up. There is the last question I will ask Ekaterina, the usual question I ask in the beginning or at the end of the interview is about books or courses that have changed your life. Can you recommend us anything?
Should I recommend the Trump book just to stay there? I have one, but it's from long before he became what he became. So, well, in sense of books, it's not it's not necessarily the best or the most important book, but I think 4 Hours Work Week is something which is important for any entrepreneur considering the move. And if there is anybody listening in who can read in Russian, I can have a couple of more, but those are not available in
Like
English yet. So
Dostoevsky?
something slightly more recent. So for entrepreneurial journey, and that's
Okay.
so they can always ping me and get into contact. I'm quite happy to work out the current situation. So I a bit missed this whole negotiation part of being like bigger part of my life. So if you are in a pickle of some difficult house purchase or supplier contracts or something else, I'm quite happy to help out just for the fun of it.
Yeah, and 4 hours week. Actually, I read it so many years ago. I think I need to reread it. But I will just say thank you and list all the girls who are listening to us. Nelia, Olga, Delphine, thanks for being with us, and all those who didn't leave comments but who are listening to us. Super happy to have you with us. And if you still have any questions, you can put them in the comments and maybe we can answer them later.
Yeah, I'd be happy. And I think real examples is always much easier to go through. And some people probably would not want to talk like salary negotiation in a public group. But that is, I'm quite happy to help out there.
Great. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Same to you guys. Thank you, Anna. Bye.
Bye. Bye.